Hi, welcome to the lecture on environmental adaptation of animals. Now we will have few videos on the reproduction and annual cycle, and let's start on the reproduction cycle itself. If you ever watched TV, you have seen that the males are fighting. And the males are not fighting that, okay, these rabbits want to eat the same grass, but they want fighting to get mates. And they get mates during a short period of the year, so that's why the cameramen are there. And so it means that, okay, the reproduction usually happens not all the time of the year in polar areas, but at certain time. And that's why these males must know that, okay, what is the time when these females are ready for these sexual intercourses. But still, the rabbits and hares are induced ovulators, so the luteinizing hormone is increased drastically after the copulation, 2 hours after. And how can that be possible? Well, easily. There are sensory neurons in the cervix, and they are sending neural messages to the central nervous system. So then they are stimulating in the brainstem neurons that are secreting norepinephrine. And this norepinephrine is sensed in the hypothalamus in the cells that are secreting gonadotrophin releasing hormones. And then these gonadotrophin releasing hormones are released, and they are traveling in the blood flow to the anterior pituitary and stimulating the release of luteinizing hormone. And then this luteinizing hormone is sending the message back to reproduction organs to stimulate the ovulation in the ovaries. So you need both neuronal control and the hormonal control to have this induced ovulation. But in most mammals, we have spontaneous ovulation. So in this induced ovulation happens in rabbits and cats and camels, but usually we have a hormonal rhythm. So we have higher or lower estrogen or higher or lower progesterone, and they are regulating this luteinizing hormone peak or surge, and this luteinizing hormone peak is then inducing the ovulation. And this rhythm can be either continuous, like in humans we have menstruation cycle, or it can be also seasonal, called estrus cycle. It can be continuing 2 times a year or 3 times a year or whatever. Like in dogs, they have 3 months or 4 months pause in this cycle, or in the fox they have almost a whole year pause in the cycle, so there is a monoestrus cycle, so they are making one offspring a year. So they are only mating at a certain time of the year. And these basic events in this cycle has been discussed in other courses, so I'm not going on details. But the tricky part is that, okay, in all mammals, the ovulation is triggered by this LH. So that's why if the animal don't know when this LH peak is, then he is not going to find any partners. So the animals are trying to mate at this time. And even the rabbits, although the LH peak was after the copulation, they have seasonal cycle, so they are not making all the time offspring in northern countries. And this reproduction is actually more than just gamete fusion. So several behavior and physiological changes must be done before the mating can happen. So, for example, in the seasonal ovulators, the size of testes changed drastically. So they are developing the reproduction organs, but they are also monitoring the environmental clues. So, okay, how long is the daytime, etc. And they usually, in some cases, they can even change the position or the location for the mating season, etc. And then there are some pheromones that are affecting that. Okay, the males and females are attracting each other, etc. And even then, after getting the zygote, it's not successful offspring. So there's a lot of effort must be done to raise the zygote into successful offspring. And some of that is part of the development biology, but then also the parental time, and meaning that, okay, the mother and the offspring interaction, that's also having pheromones, but then there is environmental stress and predators, etc. So it's more than just a gamete fusion. And the reproduction can happen all around the year, or it can be happening only short time of the year. And it's been studied in white-footed mice. So in the higher latitude, it has only few months where these females can get pregnant. Or at least they get pregnant at that time. And in the milder seasonal changes, the reproduction can happen 2 times per year, or for example, over here in Mexico, it's all year round. So there must be some mechanisms to tell these mice that, okay, now it's the time for copulation, and now it's the time for just gathering food. And they might have, in the lifespan, different kind of diapause. So in the silkworm, they are overwintering eggs are hatching, and then there is a major adults and the laying eggs. And those that are laying eggs in the late summer, these eggs are going in the diapause. And they stay as eggs all the way till the next spring. And if you think on the insects or other invertebrates in northern countries, and what kind of, how much food we have there for larvae, etc. So that's a very nice way to save energy. But it's also important because, as we have learned, that, okay, different type of animals may or may not survive in the frozen environments. So if you have eggs, it might be that it's easier to protect them from freezing. And then, not only in invertebrates that, okay, they have this diapause in the development, but it also happens in the mammals. So, example, in this Antarctic fur seal, the estrus is happening in the summer, but then there's a diapause. So the implantation of the embryo is not happening during few months. It happens only in the 8th autumn, and then, because it takes 250 days to develop, then the birth happens in the summer. And this actually happens also in the northern countries in terrestrial vertebrates. Thank you.